Hello, once more, and welcome back to the channel, back here on YouTube, doing my Week 12 2023 Big Ten prediction video series as we get into today. After going 4-3 last week in Week 11, my record improves to 73-17. And here's the thing: November, through the first 2 weeks, Week 10 and 11, November 4th, the week of November 4th, and the week of November 11th games. 8-6 combined in the first 2 weeks of November, and I've determined this: 4-3 in each week. Those 2 weeks combining for a total of 8-6. It's a little crazy. The Big Ten is crazy in November, and I think will continue going into Week 12 and 13 over the next 2 weeks to finish it off before we get to the Big Ten championship game in a few weeks. So let's get ready, right on into it. Big Ten predictions. 7 games on the schedule. Let's look at who we have and predict the games. Let's go, everyone. Big Ten predictions, Week 12 right now. First matchup going into it between Michigan and Maryland. This one is at Maryland in College Park. Michigan coming on the road for this one. Announced earlier today on this Thursday that Jim Harbaugh will serve the remaining 2-game suspension that he started last week. So it means that he won't be able to return until the Big Ten championship game, or the college football playoff, potentially, or the bowl game, whatever bowl game Michigan gets this year. Looking at Michigan, they are unbeaten so far this year, 10-0, and hard to believe that Michigan hasn't lost a game yet. Last week they had a game where it was 24-15 against Penn State. Really close. That was one of their closest games so far this year, was that Penn State game last week when it was 24-15. I think this week Michigan's going to take control. They're probably going to get about 30 points against Maryland. Maryland's going to have to play defense, play really good, and have a great game this week. Unfortunately for Maryland, I don't think they win. I think Michigan gets the win on the road and goes to 11-0, going into their matchup against Ohio State in Week 13. Moving on to our next matchup. Staying in the Big Ten East, the bottom feeders, Michigan State, having to travel on the road to Bloomington, Indiana. 2 teams in the Big Ten under 500. Indiana coming in at 3-6, if I am correct. Yeah, coming in at 3-6, if I am correct about that matchup. While Indiana comes in with only 2 wins this year. Now, this is a matchup that can go either way, with one of the 2 teams winning. I'm not sure which. I haven't seen Michigan State. The only time I saw them play once, I saw the fourth quarter when they played Iowa, and their defense had played pretty well in that game. That was one of the closest games they had. But a few weeks ago, they beat up on Nebraska at home in a close game. But this time around, I think Michigan State, this might be the best chance for them to get a win. Indiana, this is going to be a game for them, final home game of the season. I think for Indiana, this is going to be Indiana's chance to try to prove that they want to go out strong. I think Indiana might, with playing at home this weekend, will have a chance to be in this game. Michigan State's also going to have a chance. This is like, these 2 teams are pretty good in basketball, but in football this year, they're not too good. Usually, Michigan State's good, and usually Indiana's up near the bottom of the Big Ten. For this week, I'm going to take Indiana at home, surprisingly. After seeing Indiana, what happened to Indiana last week when they lost in overtime to Illinois 48-45, I think Indiana is going to have a great game this week, have a bounce-back game after losing by 3 last week in overtime to Illinois. I think Indiana goes out and gets a win here at home. Moving on to the next matchup. As we jump divisions for this next prediction, Purdue traveling on the road to Chicago to play Northwestern in Evanston. Northwestern head coach David Braun has got their interim tag removed. He's now the permanent head coach of Northwestern. Has the Wildcats sitting at 5-5, a team that wasn't supposed to win any Big Ten games this year. Northwestern was originally predicted to win 1 game. That's where I had them finishing like last in the Big Ten West, if I remember correctly. Way back at the beginning of the season, I said they were going to get 1 or 2 wins. But you're looking at this week, Northwestern playing at home, I think they're going to get a big win this week. Because unfortunately, Purdue has not had a good year. I think Northwestern finds a way to get the job done here in week number 12 and get the win to to get to 6-5 and become bowl eligible. Be the best record for a first-year head coach at Northwestern ever if they can do that this week, as I do think Northwestern will get to 6-5. Back to the Big Ten East we go. Back to the Big Ten East, unfortunately. This time around, Rutgers traveling to Happy Valley to play Penn State. Penn State, there are 2 losses on the year. Once to Michigan, once to Ohio State, and lost to Michigan last week. Last week, Penn State coming in there with 2 losses this year. So we won't have a scenario where all 3 Big Ten East teams finish 11-1. That can't happen. There could be a scenario, though, where they could potentially finish 11-1 and 11-1 and 10-2, but that might be the closest thing we'll get in the Big Ten this year. I know one of the 3 is going to finish 11-1, and another one's going to finish 12-0 next week. But Penn State this time playing Rutgers at home. I think Penn State's going to get a bounce back win against Rutgers. Rutgers, though, they're 6-3, 6-4 now. I think after this week, Rutgers is going to be 6-5, unfortunately. I think Penn State playing at home this week should have a pretty good day on offense, should have a pretty good day defensively as well. Their quarterback, Drew Adler's, is pretty good. Penn State overall as a team, after losing 24-15, they're going to have to get a win this weekend to stay alive for Big Ten, to stay alive, to get a good bowl game. I think Penn State, though, gets the win this week to get against Rutgers at home, as I do think Rutgers will go to 6-5. Penn State will go to 9-2 this week with a win for sure, as I'm taking Penn State this week. Moving on to the next matchup, headed back to the Big Ten West in a matchup with another team, 5-5 Illinois, coming in after winning 48-45 against Indiana as they travel to Iowa this week. Now, the biggest storyline of the week for Iowa yesterday, their defensive back / punt returner Cooper DeJean out for the year with a broken fibula. So his season is done. Probably won't be back till maybe the bowl game, possibly 6 to 8 week time frame. That puts you right at about early January for the bowl game, most likely scenario. On the other hand, Illinois, they're getting their quarterback Luke Altmaier back after he missed a few weeks, after he missed last week's game against Indiana. And another thing about this matchup is that this matchup is a matchup last year where Illinois won 9-6. It was all field goals last year between these 2 teams. 2 years ago, when they played at Iowa in 2021, Iowa pretty much took a win. It was a close game then, too, I think. Let me pull this up, or let me pull up the stats. Let me pull up the stats from 2021 real quick. And last year as well, so I'll give you that information now, if I can. Looking at this matchup, Illinois coming in against Iowa 5-5. Iowa, though, did win after winning against Rutgers last week, clinched a share of the Big Ten West. So if they win against Illinois or Nebraska this week against Illinois or Nebraska, they'll win the Big Ten West and go to Indianapolis in a few weeks. Yeah, 2 years ago, Iowa, 2021, Iowa won 33-23 in 2021 when Illinois and Iowa got together in Iowa City. Last year, though, 2022, was that 9-6 game, which was a crazy game. Yeah, 9-6 was the score last year, by the way, in this matchup between Illinois and Iowa. Looking at it, if I can find out another thing for you, when is the last time Illinois won in Iowa City? That you have to go back way to the early 2000s, I think, either 2000 or 1999, most likely. I'm going to double check that as well. Okay, so, yeah, okay. So not 2000. 2000 was played in Champaign. Illinois got a win then. Was it 1999? Let's find out. Okay, so last time Illinois lost The last time Illinois won in Iowa City was in 1999. They won 40-24. So Iowa could potentially lose again to a team that hasn't won in Iowa City since 1999. Earlier this year, it happened when Minnesota played on Iowa. A few weeks ago, when Iowa lost 12-10 to Minnesota, the fair catch controversial. Minnesota stopped their losing streak in Iowa City since that dated back to 1999. Illinois' losing streak in Iowa City dates back to 1999 as well. Going into this matchup, I think for Iowa, it's next man up regarding punt returns and defense backs, with Cooper DeJean out for the year, for a season on defense. On offense for Iowa, they just need to play good. Just go into this week. Last week was a pretty good game. They had a lot of running back. They used multiple running backs to make plays and run the ball a bit, and that helped them out a lot. And I think Iowa, if they can get the running game going again this week, they should get a win this week. Unfortunately, I think Illinois will take a loss, fall to 5-6, while I think Iowa goes 10-2 and clinches the Big Ten West officially this week with a win at home against Illinois on Saturday afternoon. That's at 2:30 p.m. Moving on to the next matchup. Only cross-division matchup this week. The only cross-division matchup this week in the Big Ten has Minnesota traveling to Columbus, Ohio, to play the 10-0 Ohio State Buckeyes this week. Another matchup which could be one of those matchups where you look at two teams, Minnesota coming off a game where they lost 49-30 to Purdue. Minnesota 5-5 as well. Also tied in that four-way tie, or I guess you can say five-way tie in the Big Ten West. 5 teams tied for one spot, 5-5, and scenarios can happen. Different things happen. Ohio State coming off a win 38-3 against Michigan State last week. I think Ohio State, Minnesota, this could be one of those games where Minnesota might want to go in, try to win. Minnesota needs at least one win to be bowl eligible. And we're talking about this currently, looking at the Big Ten West teams that are 5-5, and Penn Northwestern to get a win, and I picked Iowa to beat Illinois. So Illinois is going to be the first team to, I think, fall to 5-6. Unfortunately for Minnesota, I think Ohio State's going to control this game and win and go to 11-0 as well, as they go to the Michigan matchup unbeaten as well. Looking at week 13, so Minnesota will fall to 5-6 as well in Big Ten West, unfortunately, after week 12. Moving on to the last game of the night. The night game on NBC and Peacock, which is the last game of the night between Nebraska at 5-5 and Wisconsin at 5-5. A matchup where Wisconsin has controlled the last several years. Wisconsin has controlled the last several years if you look at the matchup between these two for the Freedom Trophy, which is their trophy game they play in. As we look at that, if I get this up here in a minute, I'll tell you about this rivalry. I'll tell you about the rivalry in football between Wisconsin and Nebraska. Both teams coming this weekend 5-5. Game results, Wisconsin has won every matchup since 2012. Since December 1st, 2012, which was the Big Ten Championship. So Wisconsin has won every matchup since December 1st, 2012, which was the Big Ten Championship they played at. In Indianapolis, that matchup was 70-31. And you look at the matchups, the last 2 seasons, last year and the year before, were one-score games, 15-14, point different, 35-28 in 2021 in Madison. And then you have to go back to, almost every matchup. 2015 was a 23-21, Wisconsin won 23-17 in 2016 for Wisconsin. Nebraska, their last win was a 3-point win, 30-27 in September 29th, 2012. And since Nebraska joined the Big Ten against Wisconsin, they've won 1 game. Wisconsin leads the overall series 12-4. I think Wisconsin is going to get the win here in this matchup, to get their 6th win of the year and become bowl eligible with a win against Nebraska, as I think Nebraska will get upset will get beat this week, which means Nebraska will have to win against Iowa to get to 6-6. I do think Wisconsin gets to win and controls the matchup again, as I do think Nebraska will lose this week. And real quick, here's a recap of who I'm picking this week. Taking Michigan on the road at Maryland. From there, I'm going to all home teams. Indiana's going to win against Michigan State at home. Northwestern's going to win against Purdue this week. Penn State's going to win against Rutgers. Iowa's going to win a game against Illinois, which I think will be a fun game to see. Ohio State's going to beat Minnesota. And last but not least, Wisconsin's going to take out Nebraska on Saturday night, which will be on NBC and Peacock. Hope everyone enjoys the Week 12. Comment below who your favorite Big Ten team is playing and if you think they're going to win. And with that being said, I will see you right back here in Week 13's prediction video next Thursday for you all on Thanksgiving Day. I think I'm going to record it on Wednesday. Video's going to go up on Thursday on Thanksgiving. So, hope you enjoyed this week's Big Ten prediction video. I'll see you right back here next week with the Week 13 prediction video. Please remember to watch, like, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends to do the same if they've not done so already. Also, don't forget to hit that notification button below so you know when there's a new video on the channel. With that being said, have a nice day, stay safe, and peace out. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week, everyone. Bye.